Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce this evening our host for the tour that you're about to get here in the museum. Ed Pany was the driving force behind what you see around here. He saw a need, he looked at the place that the Atlas Cement Company held in the Northampton community and surrounding areas as well, and saw a need so that it wasn't lost to history. And I think him and the volunteers that work with him and the people that supported his vision over the years should be commended. Pennsylvania is really rich as far as its mining history is concerned, and much of it's going to be lost each decade that passed. So at any rate, at this point in time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Ed Pany and his daughter Sallyann, who will be giving our tour this evening. And on behalf of the club, I want to present them with a check that they can use however they see fit for operations or whatever. So if we got a round of applause.
Everyone is welcome. The first man who came in here, Mr. Wilkinson, worked on my oil burner for many years, and he recognized me and my voice. I put this museum together 27 years ago for two reasons. I wanted to remember the thousands of men and women who worked at the Atlas. We had over 5,000 people. In the hall, I remember 2,376 people, because it was almost impossible to get the records for everyone, because some people even moved back to Europe, Over the years, there have been 30 cement companies in the valley. They've operated 60 plants. Amazing. The greatest concentration of cement plants in the world were in the Lehigh Valley. And recently, we have 4 remaining companies operating 5 plants, all foreign owned. What's interesting, we know Whitehall Cement, don't we? It became Lafarge not so so. We knew the Nazareth Cement and the Penn-Dixie. Well, they became Lehigh Cement, and now they are Heidelberg Materials. So it's hard to keep up. Keystone is owned by Mexicans. It's called Elementio, but thank God they kept their name. When I put this museum together, I wanted to remember all the men and women who worked there. My grandfather worked there, my father worked there, and I had the privilege of working there 4 summers with my father and grandfather, and they really wanted me to get a full-time job. I was offered a full-time job. And I tell this story to kids. People don't take orders from their parents like I did. My father looked me in the eye and he said, Ed, you will be going to college and you'll be a teacher because we haven't had anyone in the family go to college. I listened to my father and I taught for 39 years. And I tell this story to the students. I earned $2.02 an hour as a meal helper. It paid my tuition to Kutztown State Teachers College. So I'm obligated to this company. This company gave me a free education. The government didn't give me any money for my education. But anyway, the Atlas at one time was situated on 218 acres. They owned 800 acres. They had 3 quarries and 8 farms. This is how the Atlas looked. Oh my goodness gracious. This is a pencil drawing from 1908. Really rare. You're familiar with the Atlas machine shop? It is still located here, and it was the blacksmith of the Atlas. You're all familiar with the banquet center. Well, the banquet center is still located here, and that was the bag factory. Imagine, there was plants 2, 3, and 4 here. The first plant was in Copley along the Lehigh below the Chauffeur Kilns. but they moved here because of the cement rock and limitations in space. They had 75 kilns. It's unbelievable. Of course, they weren't large and modern like today, but you can imagine the panorama. And what is very interesting, this is Plan 4 here. Plan 4 today is the senior high school, the middle school, and the athletics field. When they built the middle school, the superintendent, of course, was a student of mine like everybody else, and his father was a dragon worker. And I said, we really should honor the cement in our new building. We've named every hall in the middle school after a cement plant. There's a Nazareth cement, there's a Bath Portland, and we have giant murals in the building. I wish some of you could get in and see it. It's really something to see. Many artifacts are over 100 years old. Here's one of my favorites. This bag was made in 1902, but look at its value. It says Siegfried, Pennsylvania, because the upper end of Northampton was called Siegfried, till later on in 1990 became Northampton. So you can see she's in pretty good shape for being born in 1902. Now, this is one of the original Copley sailor bags. Now this wasn't from 1866, that's when sailor was founded. But it's one of the last bags they used at sailor Copley cement. There is the original switchboard. Because at one time, the Atlas put telephones in the homes of bosses so they could call them out and the boss could go in the neighborhood and bring all the neighbors who worked there to the plant during shutdowns. The last lady who operated this board passed away recently. There's a phone from the railroad yard of the Atlas. That's 100 years old. This came from the Atlas office way over 100 years old. And you might be interested in this. Why would I put a flag like that up? Here is a great story. Army, Navy, excellent. Did I have it made? It was given to me by Mr. Shellock, who worked at the Copley Cement Company. World War II takes place. The War Production Board is formed. And the man who headed Sears, Donald Nelson, was given head of that board. And Roosevelt said, you can take over any building you want to make war equipment. The War Production Board came to the Copley Cement Company and took control of their machine shop. And there it is, they built 16-inch shells for battleships. And they built pumps and what have you. There's the original picture from 1943. This is an amazing piece. And of course, there's the flag. It's like when I grew a real product. Our early plants didn't have locomotives. They didn't have caterpillars. We had horses. And one man who came in was amazed to see these horses. These are really rare horses, rare beasts. So it was 100 years old. And I was able to procure this from a lady, but it was difficult to do. It was donated to 3 barns where she died. To a church, to the United Way, and to a third party, who I won't mention. John Olbrich is an attorney in Northampton. He handled his estate. His wife was my student. So he bought the third party so I could have the horse.
Wow.
Because this horse is real good, you can tell. This is, the kids love this horse. This is how I start my tours.
His name is Elias.
It's Elias.
It does have a
The
name.
kids love this horse. This is how we start the tour. But 1 minute is out.
Oh, it's
Did-
great.
Good.
For coming in tonight, I welcome you to the Atlas Automobile Museum. This program preserves the memories of the men and women who worked at the Atlas Portland Cement Company. The plant was
imagine this on the back of a Burberry truck going down Main Street because we had to put it in storage till I got this completed. So that was really the first piece I wanted, and that welcomes people to the museum each day. Sal? She'll explain the mural. This is another thing we just, here's the initial detonator. And I got the last detonator. I got the first and the last. Come on, Sal, we need you. Come on. You got men here. Come on. You got a job here. Come on.
Good helpers, good helpers.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
But
sorry.
don't miss anything on the mural.
I know, I'm giving strict orders here. Well, the mural was painted by Roger Firestone. Roger Firestone was an art teacher at the high school. He worked with my dad for many years. And every day for a year, he came down after school and painted this mural. So it took about a year, and we're very, very proud of it and pleased with the result. But it's a real nice reflection of the Atlas and the community of Northampton. And some of you folks have traveled far to come here, and others are kind of native to the area, so you might recognize a few things. First of all, the images at the top were all from photographs or people that we knew that were associated with the Atlas. And it reflects really our community and the immigration of the various time periods: Ukrainian, Polish, German, Russian, just to name a few. But I do have two relatives. I have to tell you, when you have a museum, you have a relative, you get their picture in. But the gentleman in the navy blue jacket, that was my grandfather, that was Ed's father, and he was a cement worker at the Atlas for over 40 years. Also, the gentleman with the tie and the suspenders, his last name was Wolfgang, so he was quite a German native. And I live in his house here in Northampton as well. So many of our homes, if you travel the area, are quite old. My neighborhood, the houses are well over 100 years old at the other end of town here. Now, of course, your reflection of the immigration, you've got your Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, and I'm very happy to say when the school groups come, kids do actually recognize those landmarks, and it makes you kind of happy and proud. The view of Northampton, where the river is, and you see different church steeples, again, Roger, the artist, incorporated that view. That's from the Copley Bridge over to Northampton, and he liked the steeples of the different religions found here in Northampton. Also, the big red building in that river scene, that was a brewery, and it still exists today. It's not a brewery. I think they're going to be making apartments out of it, but that building is here, again, well over 100 years. Famous projects of the Atlas. We'll start with the Panama Canal. Panama Canal put the Atlas on the map in 1909, 1910. They were awarded a contract to supply cement, not all the cement, of course, for the Panama Canal, but enough that it was 32 million bags of cement came from Northampton that went to the Panama Canal. It ended up, the bags became double bags because of the humidity going down to, a canal zone, the tropical area, and because of the humidity, all of the cement was double bagged in cloth bags. And we have a little display about the pack house and the bags, which you'll see in a few minutes. So 32 million, actually 64 million bags left this plant during that time period, making the Atlas the largest cement company in the world at the time, employing over 5,000 people, which is hard to imagine. Look at little Northampton, it's, where did they stay? Where did they live? Boarding houses were set up in the community. Older homes like my home in Northampton, and I know you're a local, they kept boarders. So if one gentleman went to work, another one would come home and sleep in the same bed with the guy that just left. They would supply the meals for the workers, and, you know, that's how they lived. Much of the money maybe went back to Europe, or they brought family members back here to the United States themselves. So it was a hustle and bustle here, if you think about it. The Atlas also had over 200 horses, and it was, you know, dirt and people and lots of activity. But the Panama Canal really was responsible for that. When you walk around today, you will also see the original blasting records from the Panama Canal. We also have original records in the Chem Lab. It's on the display there from the Panama Canal as well. So we do have some records that remain. Amazingly, they were not thrown away. Amazingly. So you also have the plants of the Atlas. If you recall, Ed said plant number 1 was over in Copley across the river. So we have plant 2, 3, 4, and 5. Plant 4 was the biggest, and of course, as Ed had mentioned, that's where your high school and middle school are currently located. It was huge. Plant number 5, some of these elements still exist today. They're found in the cogeneration plant, which is depicted in the middle of the mural. And you can see, I keep forgetting, I never got to use a pointer in school, but these, you can see the fronts of some of the buildings. They were repurposed. You know, they repurposed quite a few things on the site. Not everything was torn down. That, of course, is now an industrial site. There's a cogeneration plant there, and there's a recycling plant as well. Oh, I didn't get there yet.
Okay.
He doesn't want me to miss a thing. It's taking me longer. So you have the plants. Now, with the projects, besides the Panama Canal, other famous projects that included Atlas Cement were the Empire State Building, Rockefeller Center, and the Holland Tunnel. There's also, I believe there's Atlas Cement Hoover Dam, is that correct? Hoover Dam. But those are big projects that most people recognize. Yes, sir.
Isn't there Atlas Cement in Disney, the Disney Castle?
Have you been here before?
No, I just knew.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
That's excellent. Yes, there is, as he says, there is white cement in Cinderella's castle at Disney World. But because of copyright, we don't have it on, you know, on our
We
display.
stayed away from that. We were afraid.
We were a little concerned. Yes, but thank you very much. That's awesome. And if you have any other good tips, let me know. I can choose them. Okay, so those are some of the famous projects. We also have a picture of the quarry. That quarry's on 329. If any of you drove on 329, did you drive on 329?
Yeah, I saw that quarry about 10 trillion times.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
I know.
And excellent. And here's a fact for you. It was the Atlas' largest quarry, and it was 275 feet deep. Wow.
I
And,
thought it was only 1 or something.
well, probably appears that way because it's full of water now.
Yeah.
I think. But as you can see, the picture depicts the vertical stripes there, which would exemplify the blasting, for blasting. And when our students come to the museum, they're always fascinated by the variety of blasting equipment we have here. And no, of course, this dynamite is not real, but that's Mr. Pany's only artistic endeavor in his whole entire life. He went to the craft store and he made his own little dynamite for display.
It doesn't look that bad.
It doesn't look that bad. Don't encourage him.
Maybe it's just a little on the interesting side,
But the box is original. The box is original. Another artifact on the mural. This is called the Wilson Blockhouse. Now, if you came down Lawbach Avenue from 329, it's right here by the swimming pool. You'll see it on your way out. You probably saw it several times. The Wilson Blockhouse was originally in the back on the Atlas property, but the blockhouse was really a fort, and it was a series of forts that were constructed during the French and Indian War. They were backed by Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin actually came to the area. He stayed at the Weaversville Hotel, and that's the tiny little fort. It's out here on display. It's found a home. It's in better shape than it ever was, probably than it was even in 1763. So that's here in Northampton. Also, that still exists, right here is the bag factory. This is the community center banquet hall, which again is right here by the swimming pool. So this was the bag factory, and it's in great shape. So that building again is over 100 years old. It was also past the print shop in the days of the Atlas. So we'll have a little more on that display in a few minutes. We have the pillars representing Roger. I really enjoyed, he put the pillars in the mural, the bricks representing the cement workers of long ago that we don't know. The cement workers, the people that have been lost to time. And finally, we have the farms. There were 8 farms, over 200 horses at the plant. Not only did we need the farms to feed the animals, the horses, which were like gold. They were treated like gold, but there were also produce produced that went to the big shots in New York City at corporate headquarters. And they also had like a little boarding house restaurant for the managers that they could go and eat a meal. But I think that's it. How did I do, Mr. Pany? Did I get it wrong?
Apron.
I didn't get that far yet.
Okay.
So, you're just fine. Along with the artifacts, I'm going to skip the apron for a minute. My favorite artifact, I did not bring it with me today, but is the lunch pail that is in that cabinet. We have a nice one, it's in tin. I love that lunch pail, and when the students come, we fill it with things that a cement worker would have eaten back in the 1910s, 1920s. And it's kind of neat because the lid lifts off and has a cup in it, and it's like a little thermos. And that survived all these years, not a bump, not a bruise on it. These were all donations. Everything here was donated. Of course, the tires for our dear horses that we need. Anvil, this anvil was original on the site, 1920. This came from an actual blacksmith, passed down from a relative at the plant. It's so soft. Go get a look. Yeah, it's so soft. Yeah, you would think it would be very stiff and brittle, but it's not. It's very, very soft. So, people were very generous and donated lots of wonderful items like this to really make the museum special. So, it's kind of neat. Yeah, it's nice. It's soft. Sturdy after all these years. Again, we also have blasting equipment here, an old-timey plunger. The kids only know these from cartoons, but we know better. And this, of course, was one of the last blasters at the Atlas when it closed in 1982. Lots of other memorabilia here. But it's just a reminder. I have to refresh these for my school groups. Here's your cement rock in its chunky little bag here. Here's your cement rock. And of course, the cement rock, they add chemicals, some other minerals, that's your category. Heated to 2,800 degrees. And then we get clinker. Doesn't look much different, but it is. Of course, then that's ground and more chemicals and or gypsum, limestone, all those things are added, crushed, and turns into powder. And then, of course, you have your cement. And the Trichosmith, what's the secret ingredient to make this concrete? You know the answer.
I do know the answer, but I forget what it was. It was water.
Water. So here we go. Now, today, blasting is done with ammonium nitrate, simple fertilizer. It's become its own industry itself. And your president, I don't know Mr. Copeland, I'm calling you the president. Mentioned how you go out to quarries, which is so exciting. We did get to go out to the Keystone Quarry. That was neat, but I know you have wonderful field trips. But all this has become very technical now and very dangerous, and it's so interesting. It's fascinating. It's really just fascinating. So that's about it for the mural. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Given the scope of this whole, industrial area, did they have a hospital on site to support accidents and fatalities and stuff like that?
Funny you should say that. Well, you'll see the gentleman in the corner there where he has a wooden prosthesis. So the Atlas did have some insurance, and as a matter of fact, there's copies of the insurance over on a board on the community. You can take a look at that. Like that gentleman lost that leg, it was $100. So there, yes. If you lost a leg below a knee, if you lost a leg above a knee, if you lost an arm and eye, there was a certain fee rate. And that's actually, you'll be able to see that on the board, the community board. But in the meantime, there was a hospital here in Northampton. It was originally it was the Hawk Hospital, originally on Lincoln Avenue, Washington Avenue. And then it grew into a much bigger facility. It is the school administration building here on 329 Mohawk Avenue. So if you came through 29, you passed the building, which was the Hawk Hospital, which did medical treatment for the cement workers. I know at the Bethlehem Steel they had like on site. This wasn't really on site, but it was pretty close, right down the road. That's a good question.
One of the physicians was Dr. Boucher. Does that name ring a bell? Well, sorry, you missed it.
I did. The gentleman in the tie and jacket, his name is Leonidas Boucher. And Leonidas Boucher was a beloved manager of the Atlas from 1926 into the late 50s, early 60s. So he saw the Great Depression, World War II, all the technological changes of the time period. And he had a son. He was a doctor, and that doctor served our community for, I would say, 50 years. He served our community. So it was kind of a beloved family here in Northampton. Any other questions? We also have right here this fire card. This was found on the site after all these years. Believe it or not, these rungs are wood. These rungs are wood. We have the first, we call this, fire prevention. This would be hung from a rope or wire filled with water or sand. If there's a fire, click, it's supposed to fall on the tip, and over it goes. I don't think it was real accurate. But it's a cool piece. And again, this was all found on site, and our borough was very kind to restore these pieces for us. They were very, very supportive. Okay.
I have a question. I think the rock that they're using to make cement started out as limestone. Is that correct?
No,
I don't know.
This is called calcium carbonate. It's impure limestone. It's around, in this area, it's around 70% calcium carbonate. On occasions, they have to add pure limestone in the mix to make sure they have the right concentration to make cement. Now, white cement is all white limestone and clay. Atlas Cement was the first company in the world to make white cement. They received a patent in 1910. And we had 4 kilns, 3 gray, 1 white. We had the patent for years. White cement is a decorative cement used in special buildings, used for the white strips in highways at one time, but it's real expensive to make. To make white cement, you have to have pure limestone, which we didn't have, we got at Anvil. And we needed clay, which we got from a mine in Kunkeltown, which we own. So we had the pure limestone and the clay, but not to burn it. To burn regular gray cement, we use coal as a fuel. Coal would discolor white cement, so we use oil. So you can imagine the expense between coal and oil. When we started to close this plant, we closed the 3 gray kilns, but the white kept us going for a year or so because we were in a few plants making it. So we closed in '82, and the last cement made here was white cement. Good question, Miss Moore. Anything else?
Well,
Cinderella's castle.
was it the formula then that made it, that somebody invented the formula, or did it start with a different kind of rock that's around
The
here?
first cement you had was natural cement. Natural cement was found in the 1820s along the banks of Lehigh River. In 1823, we built the famous Lehigh Coal and Navigation Canal. Well, on the way, the guy named Samuel Glace, he looked at this rock and he said, I think they're making cement in England. I think we can make cement here. So the first cement that was made was natural cement. They took this calcium carbonate, crushed it primitively, burned it in open kilns. You've seen the kiln on the Northampton Highway. These old kilns, but they made charcoal in those kilns. Remember those kilns? Why? Okay. So they took this rock, broke it, put it in these kilns, burned it down, didn't add anything, and you had a natural cement. It was good, but it wasn't strong because today we go up to 2,800 degrees, they couldn't get that high. So that first cement was made, was called natural cement, taken right from that rock, ground and heated. Then of course, we found we can make cement a lot better, and don't forget, Portland cement didn't come into being until 1866. So they had natural cement, and then Portland cement came in, and they found out if they could add gypsum, and that would increase setting time, and they had other, they had laboratory. The first, Atlas had the first chemist. The first chemist was a man named Mr. Eckert, and he came from Lehigh University, and he was hired to look at stone and test all the composites. Because all cement companies have laboratories today. Early cement companies had no laboratories. It was trial and error. What they had suited the times, but we improved upon it.
Thank you.
I saw, like, I just took a sample, like, just outside, because I live right near the corn.
Yes.
I see sometimes the calcium carbonate limestone has an inclusion of gypsum or stripes of gypsum running through it.
That makes sense.
There's really not most of the gypsum comes from up in New York State. It's brought in. The amount we have here is so minuscule. It's so minuscule. We can't.
Maybe it's just calcium.
Yes.
Calcium. Yeah.
The white inclusion.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's most likely maybe like, I don't think it would be calcite because that's calcium carbonate, but that's
Sulfate.
yeah.
Because you see, remember Keystone has a rock plant or aggregate plant. Well, the stuff they use there is lower in calcium carbonate, but it's real good for highway construction. So they're not using a lot of that in the plant. They're using the calcium carbonate that's tested in the laboratory. That is tested 70–75% they'll use. The others use on highways. So they have an aggregate to use the stone that's not suitable for cement. So they're making money with cement and aggregates.
Okay,
Any more?
all right, then we'll move
Good.
into the area where the camera is.
Here's another rare piece for you guys. This is rare. You'll never see copy cement again. You'll never see that logo. There's, at one time, Copley had their own trucks. And I was fortunate in that I go to all cement companies to have a family give me that truck to remember Copley Cement. That trailer is a piece of wood. That's carved wood. Do you recall that when these trucks went on 329 over to Egypt with clinker? Because at one time, over in Nazareth, the Nazareth cement plant, their mills weren't big enough. So they hauled clinker, believe it or not, to Old Giant and ground cement there. Of course, the remains are still there, but it was uneconomical to do. The first unions came to fruition in the 30s. I'm fortunate to have the union conference medals from the 30s almost up to the 50s. I was able to interview the son of Roland Roth, who was one of the organizers of Cement Workers of America. I was able to interview him and his son, who worked at Lafarge, who worked at S-Rock, now Lehigh, gave me this beautiful plaque. So this is real memorabilia here. I guess we did a good job. I think he covered everything else.
I think we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Our students made this model of the Atlas for us. This is a model the students made. We honored Lafarge a couple of years ago when their 100th anniversary was. The oldest operating cement plant in the Lehigh Valley is Lafarge Whitehall. They're going to hold their 125th anniversary shortly. Am I right, Mrs. Pany?
Yes, this one.
Here's a rare piece. Oh my God, is this rare? This was sent to the Patent Office in the United States in 1929 by Hercules Cement. A self-unloading golf cart, one of a kind. It took me years to get this. If I plug this in, it makes dust, it will take the cement by screw cultivator to a ready mix plant. Please look at this construction. It's not plastic junk. It's a one of a kind. In 2007, I was able to get 10 years for me to get this out of it. Because many railroad buffs have come to see this. This has been pictured in many railroad magazines. Here's our quarry. Mrs. Madden said, 3 quarries. Here's the one on 329. Note the men. No helmets. No safety glasses. 1950. First helmets. Orange for danger in quarry. Green for the plant. Where's the good? Yeah, that came from the Atlas. Green was the operating. We have the quarry samples, but here's the biggie. We have the actual records of the rock blasted through the Panama Canal. Handwritten, cursive. People can't read cursive today. Just look at this. Blasted August 12, 1910, 1 p.m. Canal Special Exploders. There it is. You can't get better than that. We paid men by gold and silver coin at one time. And then when the Depression came, all the gold, the banks were closed. Gold was pulled in and they decided to give people paper money. And a cement worker was startled when he got a check. He didn't know what the word endorsement meant. So his buddy had to write his name till he could learn to write his name. We had so many men and women at the Atlas, they had brass checks and they went to a big railroad car and they were paid. And it took 2 days to pay everybody for this car to go around together. Look at this, we just added, this is
Come over this
beautiful.
way, come on over. Come on over.
This picture was taken by airplane in 1945 of the new Atlas plant. And we just had that done because our doors rusted through. So we had to really search to find something appropriate, and my daughter was the one who facilitated everything like this. Look at our farms. They're all gone. Vegetable gardens, old equipment. There's the man who lost his leg. He became a telegraph operator at that switchboard. His name was Dick Dilford, by the way. Oh, worst cement accident in the history of the Lehigh Valley. I spoke up there and they asked me to speak about this tragedy. It happened in 1943 at Martin's Creek, Sansetti. 31 men died simultaneously when 20 tons of dynamite exploded. Today we don't know what caused it. We think faulty plastic caps. I actually interviewed Mr. Good, who worked there at that day and picked up body parts. And I won't go into this with students. It was a terrible tragedy. And then we finally got together and they asked me and Mr. Oberly to work on it. And I was able to get the money from Lehigh and other cement plants to put that. That memorial is up there, I'm proud of it, on the church on the hill up in Martin's Creek. That can be seen. Okay. Cement was put in wooden barrels. Wooden barrels were made by men called coopers. This cooper is still alive, fictionally.
Yeah, folks, you can come over this way. Come on over.
I'm Cornelius Lawyer. I was one of the first coopers at the Atlas. My job was to assemble wooden barrels which were used to pack cement. When filled, a barrel weighed 376 pounds. 2 cooper shops with 125 men made millions of barrels. Young boys were able to get their first jobs in the shops. They earned 10 cents an hour. We still have some of the barrels and labels. Because of the cost, barrels were replaced by cloth bags, which were manufactured by dozens of women in the bag factory, the present Northampton Community Center. Some of the bags you see here were made in 1920. Each bag contained 94 pounds of cement. Paper bags replaced cloth bags when a new Atlas plant was constructed in 1943.
Barrels are too expensive to make. I interviewed people who made the barrels. So we decided to make cloth bags. And of course, we made millions of these bags in the bag factory, the Northampton Banquet Center. And they did something really odd. When you go into a cement plant today and see an automatic packing machine, people don't even touch it, everything's computerized. We had to tie bags by hand years ago. And this is very fascinating. We tied bags when they were empty. Bear with me. We tied them when they were empty on Bates tying machines. Believe it or not, this is one of the machines that tied the bags for the Panama Canal. Naturally, we had dozens of these things. Man, was I fortunate to get this. This is wire from the Panama Canal bags found in the basement of a fellow whose grandfather passed. Okay, we're gonna tie bags. And remember, you're 14 years old now.
And you were expected to tie 6,000 bags a day. You've got 50 cents for 1,000 bags. So $3 a day for 6,000 bags.
You could get a quarter pounder. Okay, we tie 6,000, but our women are clever. They make a self-sealing valve. It's applied to a spout, cement flows in, weight closes the bag without sewing. Fascinating. Millions of these bags, millions. Still do the same thing today. Man, this is an old Atlas bag. Same thing today. Valve, affixed to a machine, fills in, bang, drops, full. And everything's done automatically today. Bags have many uses. They're used by women for diapers. They're used for bed sheets. They're used for towels. I have a tablecloth made of it. I don't use it, but I have it at home. And of course, people years ago wanted to go swimming, so their mothers used to make swimming suits out of bags. But the greatest use of the bag is the concrete kids. There it is, carrying their equipment, not in Adidas or anything, carrying their few pieces of equipment in bags like this. A man who played for Northampton's greatest team, there it is, 1937 Wonder Team. So that's how you got the name Concrete Kids. And some people say, why a K? Because we were Germans, a lot of Germans lived here, and they spell concrete with a K. And that's how you got concrete. Oh, where's that?
I got it. Oh, I always get to
Tell
pull
about
this.
that.
So grinding balls, grinder balls, rebar, that was the equipment of the day. That was the equipment used by the 30s, the Wonder Team, and it is heavy. So, rec center, here we come.
That's your rec center.
That's your rec center.
An old football player brought that in. But this is great, you'll love this. Do you guys remember two guys? Remember it? Remember they were flying for opening of Sunday, remember that? Blue line, remember? Well, when two guys came in, they said, well, let's make sweatshirts for the kids, because you know sweatshirts sell. Oh, they made a beautiful sweatshirt. Oh, I have fun with this. This is a rare piece. Look at it. Huh? Isn't that rare? That's as good as they get, you guys. Come on, come on. See, they could spell right down there, two guys. They could spell it. Okay. And of course, it's used for everything else. I mean, you could use this down at Red Lobster if you want to, you know, ladies use it for clothespins, of course. And isn't it funny, when we have the kids, hardly anybody has a clothesline anymore. It's illegal to have a clothesline in places, you know that?
Some places.
I'm laughing at all this kind of stuff. Okay, but one of my students, Brian Schneider, remember the Schneiders were very famous in town, and he went on to have a long career with the Phillies, the Mets, and Montreal. Quotations are beautiful. Now, I get a call in 2012 at 804 Dewey Avenue from a woman from China. She knew my name, Pany. People think she mispronounced it. She said, Mr. Pany, we want to bring a delegation from China to the Atlas Museum. I said, oh, this don't sound right. This don't sound right. Okay, she gave me a number and whatnot, and then I went to the borough, because I'm not going to call China any place from my place. So the Chinese contacted me. They said, you have to send a letter to the Foreign Ministry of China. you know how they watch cars over there. So we sent them a message, and they said, would you send us a letter that we're welcome to come? I said, sure you could come. So they send me the names of the people coming, I can't pronounce them, even their birthdays. You wouldn't do that, would you? Okay, you'll see it. So the Chinese came, curators from China, and they brought me that great symbol of their city. I mean, holy Christmas. I have some Chinese flags. Hey, I'm not a sympathizer of China. Don't get me wrong, because we got to watch those characters. But they invited me and my wife to China pretty sharp about it. But my wife goes with Kane, so you know, I really want to go alone. But this was the amazing part. They showed me a bunch of pictures. Their cement museum is a cement plant that closed, and they kept every piece of equipment here. And they had like a visitor center. I said, man, if I go there, if I stay here, they're saying, all these companies are foreign. They're owned to guys. See them? Hercules is owned by the Italians. Whitehall, now most of it is owned by the Swiss. And of course, the Germans own Lehigh. That's a German flag. And of course, a large, believe it or not, delegation from India came and they brought me that flag. That's why that flag is there. This is Cornelius Lloyd. When he lived a long time ago. These bags were made in the Northampton Community Center 100 years ago. Do you remember?
1920.
I mean, it looks like I had these things made. I mean, look at this bag. These are rare as heck. And I have the original bags of these companies. One of my favorites is this one. You'll never see that on a bag again, will you? Nobody could spell it. Kind of solid. And you know who founded the company. The famous Fuller family. Fullerton. And a lot of people, the Fullers, when the Mayflower came, two of the people on the Mayflower were Samuel and Anderson. So talk about heritage. Talk about heritage.
Wow.
Way the heck back. Way the heck back. So there's a lot of history in everything that we've done. Our greatest buildings. A little bit of cement, right? Oh, you all saw the movie, right? The original went for $50,000, by the way. I was able to, in a Pennsylvania, milk this out of a guy. The man who put this museum together had a copy. I said, I need this for the kids. I need it. So I was able to convince him to get that. Okay. Okay. So lunch. I'll show you a check for 4 cents.
Off just when you come up.
This is for the women. This is for you, girl.
One of the few jobs that were available for women at the Atlas besides the bag factory. By the way, you will see women working in the bag factory, repairing and sewing bags, and you know that was a very labor-intensive job. But this is original desk of Leonidas Boucher, original typewriter that did orders for the Panama Canal. That was given to us by another gentleman who handed it down from his family. But he also has some other artifacts here in the museum. Punch clock from 1905. If you wind it up, it still works. Potbelly stove, we're all familiar with that. There is a blueprint case here. That trunk is for blueprints. And all kinds of office equipment, adding machines and paycheck machines. I can't imagine. Everything's on our phone now. So that's kind of neat. But you can see people took their jobs seriously. Like Helen Troxel Horst, my father would stay up all night to find a 2 or 3 cent mistake in a billing statement. No more. No more. But Mabel Sheets Rice was another person my father interviewed. Happiest days of her life when she was a clerk for $50 a month in 1920. The times have changed somewhat there. But there's several pictures here reflecting the time period. And this is mostly original equipment from the Atlas. Some some from other locations as well. Then we turn the corner and we have the community. And as I said before, real quickly, right here is your amputation at the foot or below the ankle, $100. Amputation for both arms or above the elbow, that was a big one, $300. So that's kind of neat right there. You also have the manual of the atlas. You know how you get a manual of instructions? Well, it was in different languages. We had
The one on the left is German, I think that.
yes. They were in German, Russian, Ukrainian, and
German,
English.
Hungarian, Polish.
Yeah.
Is that what it is, German, Hungarian, and Polish?
Remember that? Cement National Bank, building in North Main Street, empty for 3 years now. This lady was a singer with Fred Waring, and she was in a movie, Silent Hill, many years ago. Dorothy Payne Softly. Here's my famous check, 4 cents. 4 cents carried by this gentleman during World War II. One gentleman said, "Mr. Pany, you've got John Dillinger here." Why do you have John Dillinger here? John Dillinger robbed banks in Mason City, Iowa. I had men here from Mason City, Iowa, remember? And the managers knew it. So John Dillinger's robbing banks all over the 30s. So the rumor was John Dillinger is going to hit that pig car. Oh my God, man, wanted to sell with shotguns and whatnot, and his black Buick never showed up, and my father-in-law said if they would have seen John Dillinger, they would have crapped in their pants. But anyway, it's a real great story that there was a Dillinger scare here in the 30s. It was really funny. I interviewed 3 men who were 100 years old who packed for the Panama Canal. Mr. William McFetridge Katasapo. He was one of them. This lady was my teacher, and that was her picture as an infant many years ago. Our brewery head. We can't spell it. Look at the nationalities. I always tell the kids, this was a laboratory of democracy. We didn't ever have anybody beating their house burned during this period because people were happy to be here and to work. My father was an immigrant when he was 12 years old, and he came from Burgenland, Austria.
From where?
Burgenland, Austria, Father come. And of course, the bishop came here a number of years ago, and he brought a delegation from Austria. It was real moving, really, when he was here. Here's the hospital you guys wanted. Here it is. Here's the case from the hospital I was able to get it. We have early supplies from the hospital. For example, office visit was $5 in 1959. And there's other things here. Of course, we added some beautiful things. I have the paper here when that Roxy opened. Everybody knows the Roxy. Here's the original cement. Here's the original. September 1st, 1933, also Great Depression. The only time they had used colored print, because you know, they didn't have the technology. Of course, okay, our post office, you guys know all, our post office was made all of concrete. Did anyone ever hear of the lady up in Pennsville? What's her name on that?
Sally Starr?
Betty Seidel.
Betty Seidel. Betty Seidel, they tore her house down. Remember, you had a gift shop in Cherryville? Well, Betty Seidel, I did an article. Her mother worked at the True Blue Brewery, and I was able to get this from the estate. This is a calendar face from 1911. Very rare and very valuable. Here is our True Blue beer, and here is Old Dutch from Katasapo. In here we did the NNB Railroad. Here he is, Panama Canal. Over 1 century old. We don't want to forget, atmosphere is brewed in Panama right now. People brought me this beer from Panama a couple of years ago. They carried it like a newborn baby. Why do I have this phone? The Austrians brought it. I'm amazed. Students are amazed by this. They don't know how to use it. Students don't know that you had to dial the phone number. They don't know that. Look at this bell. The bell comes from that engine there. And it came from George Record, where the garage in Northampton.
And you got the records.
Yeah, oh my God, are these rare. Mrs. Madden had them redone because they were fading, so she digitized them. We don't want to lose them.
Yeah, they're the chemical laboratory records from the Panama Canal.
This is part of the ladder from the last time, so we're at a big stack here. This is it. This is all lab equipment. I call it Frankenstein equipment. Here is the last Atlas plant. Here it is. Where my father worked, I worked. We started building in 41, we opened in 43. And the Atlas was bought by Frank Horowitz when it closed. And of course, these are all, here is the last day. This is the last day of the Atlas. 8/24/82. Is this sad? One sentence. The announcement came over the intercom. Kill off, 11 a.m., plant shut down. That's it. One sentence and all the history of the Atlas died on that day. And of course, this is how it looked a couple of weeks after it closed. It's our saddest picture. Sun has set on Northampton as World Cement County. This article was written on August 15th, 82, when Sonia Sensis, who just passed away, came to my house, and we were very sad just to look at that. And of course, this is what it looks like today. And this comes from 2010, because each year we have a cement day at the middle school. Didn't have it the last couple of years. We are concrete.